Of the Clarke County Board of Education will now come to order. Ms. McNamara, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Spangler?
Here.
Mr. Payne?
Here.
Mr. Nunley?
Present.
Ms. Wright?
Here.
Ms. Sellis? Mr. Worthy?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Huff?
Here.
Mrs. Thornton?
Here.
Okay, at this time I would say that if you have a cell phone, please turn it off or put it on silence for me, please. Do we have any amendments to the agenda this evening?
No amendments, you've got some,
Okay.
in order, you gotta do the consent agenda change?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Huff has made a request to pull item 3, board members, off the consent agenda. So you pull that off the consent agenda, that will leave 7 items, and we'll make item 3 the 8th item on the grant. So pull item 3 off the consent agenda, leave 7 items on there, and we'll make that the 8th item. Okay. At this time, I'd like for you to stand and join us in a moment of silent meditation. We'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Recognition and achievements and awards. Lisa, are you here?
She's back there.
Oh, there you are.
Right in the crowd.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, and members of the board. I am pleased to recognize many outstanding individuals from the Clarke County School District tonight. Honorees, when I call your name, please come forth, accept your certificate, and shake the board members' hands. Tonight, we will recognize the Martin Luther King Jr. Writing Contest winners. These school district students won the 9th annual I Have a Dream Writing Contest, and their winning entries were recently featured at the MLK Freedom Breakfast at the University of Georgia. This evening, before I present the winners with certificates, I would like to present their video featuring their wonderful work.
I dream of representing my generation.
My dream is all will be equal.
I have a dream.
My dream, you want peace, definitely peace. Remember peace. Envisioning Martin Luther King. Are you wanting peace? My dream.
When Martin Luther King was growing up, he saw that black and white people struggled out. Dr. King wanted people to use their words when their life speaks not their fists. Someday when I grow up, I want to be like something to tell people to back things.
Dream, dream, sleep, sleep, wait, wait, I hear your name. Up on a silent night, an image in your head. A dream, that's what it's called. You just don't know your dream can lead to a lifetime achievement. People will laugh, holler, scream at your dream. But you follow your heart. You'll be the most important person on this earth. Like Obama, Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X had a dream to follow. Dream, dream, sleep, sleep, wait, wait, you are very calm.
My dream is to become a technology teacher and help and teach every color of kids. Martin Luther King's dream was that all races could go to the same school when he had the I Have a Dream speech, he changed things. He said his children could go to the with a school without rain. I have a dream that our world will be peaceful and beautiful, that people's hearts will be full of peace, joy, and happiness. There would be no war because we could talk it out instead of fighting it out. I have a dream that everyone will be a community and work together, that everyone and everything will have their own way. I have a dream that people will listen to music, swaying and tapping their feet. They would let it fill their hearts, letting it flow out. I have a dream that we will end this silly game of chess. White versus black. Checkmate, stalemate, winners and losers. And we will all win. My dream is that all will be equal. World hunger ended. Poor stock, world peace begins. Bad drugs live on for good. The world be a greener environment for us, and that is safe for us. I want to be a hero, and located in Najibah, a level hardness to capital, deep on margin, as they win, a level night for try not to, try and be on all those things, none on it or anything. I want to be, I want to be, I want to be something. I want to be, I want to be, I want to be someone. I want to be, I want to be, I want to be a hero. This everlasting war will end. Oh, but it's not just war. No, there's quite more. People bicker day long, their voices combine in eerie song. They fight on the streets, someone ends up getting beat. This fighting goes on and on. Its essence is never gone. People influenced by the acts of the past. Don't give my dream a glance, and ways they do love. But even they are encased in this glove of cruel, harsh, and mean. The ways of the past chase them, but one day my dream will come true. A dream of world peace will shine through. In the future, I want to be someone unique. Not necessarily wealthy or powerful, just pleased with who I am as a person. I want to go to bed every evening satisfied with what I had done that day. Wake up, excited for the next day to begin. My dream is to have a family to love and care for, and a job that I'm passionate about. I want to live life to the fullest and be able to look back and be proud of what I've accomplished.
Our dreams will represent our generation. Falling down, getting back up, falling down again. Without excuse. Because where I'm from, I wasn't given this, I wasn't given that. All excuses. Where you leave yourself, how you turn the future on the past, let the future live at last. Our dream of a more understanding world, instead of people standing on one another. One together with us, destination. Our dream of being a stranger, just like him. A hero without a cape, but a king just like him.
My submission is written in Korean and ancient format, and I wrote down some words I believe that I need to reach my dream. This right here says dream, and right here it says hope. This says goal, determination, courage, and dream.
I've learned every moment counts, so cherish every second. Tell people you love them before it's too late. And to reach all of your dreams, always set goals for yourself. But most importantly of all, above love, time, and goals, have motivation and a long planet inspiration. Although I'm not sure what my dream is yet, I'll work hard at whatever it may be, with Mr. Paxton as my inspiration for such a good person with me. And I want to be like him someday. You know what will motivate me? I want to go make him proud. Mr. Paxton.
That's a young man that moves the man he is.
How about a round of applause for the great video? And now I'll call the students' names to receive their certificates. Cooper Allen, 2nd grade from Cleveland Road Elementary School.
That's good.
Someone,
Right up here. There you go.
Congratulations, good job. Here, can you go say, let Mr. Payne congratulate?
Georgia May Carter, 2nd grade, Timothy Road Elementary School. Angelina Choi, 8th grade, Hillsman Middle School. Brittany Howard, 11th grade, Cedar Shoals High School. Paulina Ibanez, 4th grade, Barrow Elementary School. Cassie Jackson, 4th grade, Barrow Elementary School. Tyquacia Lattimore, 7th grade, Clarke Middle School. Neha Mahanti, 6th grade, Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School. Donovan Pope, 3rd grade, Gaines Elementary School. Warren Rogers, 5th grade, Barrow Elementary School. Brandon Thornton, 3rd grade, Whitehead Road Elementary School.
Excellent work. I'm very proud of you. Good work, man. Congratulations. Great job.
Teresa Venzel, 11th grade, Cedar Shoals High School. And Jean Yu, 8th grade, Hillsman Middle School. Our next award is for Georgia's single statewide accountability system platinum level improvement. Congratulations to Whit Davis Elementary School for platinum level gains on the CRCT. This award was announced by Governor Deal and is given under Georgia's single statewide accountability system. Only 111 schools in the entire state of Georgia received this award for gains, and platinum is the highest status achieved, and Whit Davis is the first recipient in Clarke County to receive a platinum level award. Principal Katrina Daniel is accepting the award, and we want to congratulate the teachers, students, administrators, and parents for all their hard work in making this happen.
Great job.
Each year, the Clarke County School District holds its annual charitable contributions campaign. This requires much extra work at each school and division for the campaign coordinator. And this evening, we'd like to recognize the school coordinators and principals that raised over $1,000. These donations go a long way in helping organizations across our community, including the United Way, Food to Kids, and the Foundation for Excellence, We Read, and much more. So these individuals are making a difference every day in their schools and in the community. Chase Street Elementary School, they raised $1,020. Nancy Moon and Adam Kurtz. Clarke Central High School, Dr. Robbie Hooker, they raised over $2,000. J.J. Harris Elementary Charter School, 1,065, Scott E. Martins or Nona Thomas. Hillsman Middle School, over $1,400, Melissa Smith and Selena Blankenship. Oglethorpe Avenue Elementary School, over $1,200, Carolyn Dykes and Scarlett Dunn.
Good job. Thank you very much.
And finally, Transportation Services, nearly $1,300, Faye Sims, Mark Weaver, and Kathy Benson.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job. Congratulations.
You got time?
Congratulations.
You have a good work, young man.
Congratulations. Great. Congratulations.
Next, we'd like to recognize our Title I distinguished schools. These schools have made adequate yearly progress, which is the state's current measure of achievement under No Child Left Behind, and these schools have made AYP for 3 consecutive years or more. First, Alps Road Elementary School, they have made AYP 3 consecutive years, and this is their first year as a Title I distinguished school. Alps. Barrow Barrow Elementary School, 9 consecutive years making AYP, 7 years named a Title I Distinguished School. Barrow. Barnett Shoals Elementary School, 3 consecutive years making AYP, first year as a Title I Distinguished School. Chase Street Elementary School, 3 consecutive years making AYP, first year as a Title I Distinguished School. Cleveland Road Elementary School, 3 consecutive years making AYP, first year as a Title I Distinguished School.
Congratulations again. Congratulations.
Gaines Elementary School, 4 consecutive years making AYP, second year as a Title I Distinguished School. Fowler Drive Elementary School, 5 consecutive years making AYP, 3 years as a Title I Distinguished School.
Congratulations.
Hillsman Middle School, 3 consecutive years making AYP, first year as a Title I Distinguished School.
Good job today.
Stroud Elementary School, 5 consecutive years making AYP, 3 years as a Title I Distinguished School. Timothy Road Elementary School, 3 consecutive years making AYP, first year as a Title I Distinguished School. Whit Davis Elementary School, 3 consecutive years making AYP, first year as a Title I Distinguished School. Whitehead Road Elementary School, 9 consecutive years making AYP and 7 years as a Title I Distinguished School.
Congratulations, young man. Congratulations.
Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
And Winterville Elementary School, 9 consecutive years making AYP and 7 years as a Title I Distinguished School. Barrow, Whitehead, and Winterville have all made AYP every year since its inception and have been, therefore, always been named a Title I Distinguished School as long as that honor has been available. So we want to congratulate them again for that as well. And now we have this evening's 4-Star Employee Awards. First is Beverly Harper, a first grade teacher at Cleveland Road Elementary School, and she was nominated for this award by co-teacher Anna Beeman. And this is what Anna had to say about Beverly Harper. Beverly comes to work with energy and enthusiasm every day. Her class is very diverse, many gifted children, special needs students, and much more, but Beverly is able to meet the specific needs of each student no matter what. She challenges them, supports them, disciplines them, and loves them. And students and teachers alike respect her for this. Her lessons are fun and creative, and her students enjoy coming to school every day because of the environment she creates. She is also a constant source of encouragement to the teaching staff. She greets everyone with a smile and a joke. She helps make our school the warm, accepting place it is. As a new teacher, I have directly benefited from her giving and welcoming nature. Lastly, Beverly is a leader. She not only takes on leadership roles, but she also leads by example. Congratulations. Next is Angie Moon Diavola. Angie is the early Head Start coordinator at the H.T. Edwards Early Learning Center.
There she is.
And she was nominated for this award by Supervisor Chris Walker, and here's what he had to say. Angie has been the coordinator of the early Head Start program for over 10 years. During that time, the program has doubled in size due to her grant writing and management skills. She is committed to the community that is served by the grant and works hard and hand in hand with other agencies to ensure services for families. While we encourage her not to be such a workaholic, it is not unusual to see her in the office on a Saturday and a Sunday, and this is driven more by her passion for the program than anything else. She sets a high bar of perfection for herself, and if a mistake is made, she takes full responsibility for correcting it. Above all of her skills of organization, out-of-the-box thinking, and creative management. But out of all of these, I most admire her kind heart, dedication to making a difference, and absolute certainty that there is good in all people. Congratulations, Angie. And now Julie Novak. She teaches at the Office of Early Learning as a preschool teacher. She was nominated for this award by her former co-teacher and friend Lisa King. And Julie is most proud that she is here tonight because that she is escorted by one of her students.
All right. All right. Congratulations.
And here's what Lisa had to say about Julie. Julie has worked tirelessly for the students of the Clarke County School District for the past 10 years. She exceeds the expectations for any teacher daily. She is often on the telephone with anxious parents after many of us are asleep in bed. She takes students to birthday parties, makes sure they all have clothing appropriate for the season, and has even had a kiddie pool delivered to a student's house in the unbearable heat of summer. Additionally, she has served as a mentor to a high school student, attending court dates and allowing him to do jobs around her house to earn money. She uses her personal days to conduct observations and attend IEP meetings for a former student. In addition to all these things, she's also a permanent foster parent of a Clarke County School District student and spends her free time arranging tutoring, helping with projects, shuttling to activities, and providing unconditional love. Thank you. You know, before the meeting, I had a colleague of Julie's come to my office and say, Julie mostly just wants you to recognize that she's here with a student because the spotlight's about him, not about her. And finally, Anthony Smith, a teacher at Cedar Shoals High School, and he was nominated for this award by Lynn Johns. And this is what Lynn had to say. As a first-year teacher, Anthony has demonstrated dedication, leadership, and commitment to our students. He has shown star qualities that are rare in a first-year teacher, which have been acknowledged by his school administration and peers. More importantly, he has shown his commitment and dedication as witnessed by his students. And there is an attached letter that I will read part of from one of his students. Dear Mr. Smith, first of all, I want to thank you for making my first semester as a freshman a very wonderful experience. Even though this is your first year teaching, you have done a very good job. My grade might not reflect it, but I have learned a lot in your class. You're actually the best teacher I have ever had. I feel as though I can talk to you about anything, and I know you give me only good advice. I actually look to you as an uncle rather than just one of my teachers. Thanks for all that you do for me. Thank you, Anthony. We again want to congratulate and commend these outstanding individuals. You make your school district and community very proud. Thank you.
If I could add again, just a simple thank you. Once again, you bring to our board meeting joy and just an appreciation for what people do in this district. But it ranges from our teachers to parents to our children who we focus on. But what a special treat tonight. So I just want to say thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Dr. Lanou. We're going to move the agenda. We're down to item E, minutes of the previous meetings. We had 3. I'll have a motion moved by Ms. Williams. I have a second to that. Second by Mr. Huff. Any questions pertaining to the minutes? Questions pertaining to the minutes? All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous vote. Motion passed. In the interest of time and also a lengthy superintendent's report this evening, I'm going to move up our speakers, have our speakers next. We have 5. I need to read a statement before I call the first speaker. Recognition of visitors. Speakers would be limited for 3 minutes. Dr. Spangler would be the timekeeper, so we'll keep an eye on her. Yellow caution card will appear when 1 minute remains, and a red card will appear when the time expires. At this point, please conclude remarks. No speaker shall indulge in personal attacks. While speaking, all comments are addressed directly to the Board of Education. Personal concerns may be addressed in writing to the superintendent or the president of the Board of Education. Our first speaker for this evening, Joy Faulkner, Transportation. Joy, that's you. Okay.
Some of them I was able to get a little bit more information on than others.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had two.
I think they're the same thing.
All right. As I just handed you out a piece of paper, this is the Northeast Georgia region. And this is what we have to say is, according to our monitor's pay scale, if you look over, it's about middle wage, middle way. And according to the monitor scale on this, Oconee County is now making $11 per hour, their monitors. Their Jackson County is making $10 per hour. Morgan County is making $450 a month. Some of these, I also wrote how many kids were in the county that were transported. Walton County, $8 per hour. Jefferson City, $10 per hour. Greene County is making $15.50 per hour. And Clarke County is starting out at $7.89. And you can make up to $16.43 according to how many years you've been of service. So if you see on this piece of paper, and this is with the counties that we're talking about, we are the lowest pay, we start at the lowest starting pay. That is if you're you become hired on with benefits. A call-in monitor, it started out before you were even hired, you're either started out, some are started out at $8 and some are started out at $10. But once they're hired, their pay rate has gone down to $7.89. We're asking that as drivers and monitors that y'all will look at this and that you will, see that there is a need for a raise for our monitors. And also too, our monitors pay scale, we have extra work, and it's on the very end here, and there's different counties are listed their extra work. We have different field trips that we do, and our monitors have been cut just recent. This is what's happening now. Our monitors have been cut. They were making $25 like the driver, but they've been cut down to $16. That's a $9 cut. They've been cut on their field trips. They were making $10, and now they're cut down to $8. And we're trying to, we understand that some of the drivers were concerned because the monitors may be making the same thing as they were, but instead of cutting the monitors that were already making such a low rate, and this was their extra work, we're asking that that be reimbursed back to them and that they get that paid back because that was already part of the budget, and that that will be rectified for them. Also, some of the drivers were making $25 and they've been cut down to $20. And we would like them to be able to get back that $5 cut. And also on field trips today, I was able to talk to our supervisor. And before we were getting 15 minutes to and from a school, that had been cut. We used to be paid from the time we left the bus garage to the time we got to the school. We had a 15-minute pre-trip and a 10-minute time to be there before the school was opened up, before the field trip began. And so we had that. Drivers are asking, because of the base salary, the salary comparison here, we are at 4 hours. We're asking for 5 hours and 15 minutes, and I have talked to our supervisor about that and to some other people. mechanics, there are several mechanics that are working with us, and we're asking them to.
For the team.
Thank you, Ms. Faulkner. Our second speaker for this evening, I don't have a first name, Ms. McGee. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Agnes McGee, and I work for transportation as a bus driver, monitor, and I'm here for an all-over wage increase for every bus driver and every monitor. Joy mentioned the upraise on the monitors. We're asking for $10.25 an hour for these monitors because they do the hard work. We have children that is medically handicapped, and we have monitors out there doing suction on them and stuff like that, and they're still getting $7.85 or $7 something an hour. That's pretty low for a county. The wage increase for the all across the board, we were asking 6.5%. We have not had a raise for over 5 years. The cost of living is quite a bit higher than 5 years ago. We're also asking that there's no cap on the employment. After 20-some years, 15 years, you don't get any more raises. You don't get nothing. You're just at a flat rate. Where a lot of other places keep on giving you raises before your service is at that county. Okay? And we're asking that there will be no more cap. We also are asking for like the raise for 6.5 is including dispatchers, mechanics. We have a few mechanics that are full-time employees, but somehow they fell through the crack, and they don't get medical like some other mechanics standing over here that work at the same company, same place. They're not getting the teacher's benefit plan. We have no clue why, but we would like that to be looked into and find out why there's two that's not getting this. The extra work, we were talking about summer pay. We used to get hourly rates there, monitors and drivers. Somehow it dropped down to $60 a day and $30. Okay, we do the same work, summer, winter, fall. We're hauling the same children. Why do we have to take half our wages? We have the same responsibility. Okay? Then we've got the fuel team needs, they do a lot of hard work. They could get a little bit of extra for that because they're out there in the freezing cold, rain, snow, whatever there is. They fuel these buses for us to get to the children. Okay. Field trip pay $15 an hour instead of $10 an hour because we're doing the same work. We're handling the same children. We're hauling our responsibility the same. The bus drivers and monitors are hardworking people. They're the foundation here that brings the children to the schools to have their dreams. Okay? We are here for them and for the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the third speaker, Sharon Lattimore.
She called me earlier and she had a
She's here.
I'm sorry, Sharon.
You got the wrong one.
Okay, Ms. Lattimore.
All right, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak. As you are aware, transportation has had some problems, and our goal is to make our department run as safe, fair, and efficiently as possible. While we have appreciated meeting with Mr. Gilbert, we understand that some of our issues will take longer to fix and more than him to fix. But there are some things that can be fixed and looked at right away. That doesn't cause anything. Our department has been divided into conventional and special education side. While there are benefits, it has taken away seniority and extra work. The division gives the special education drivers the opportunity to make more money than the regular education drivers or the conventional buses because they are allowed to do midday work, CBI, or busman, field trips, after school, and early head start, while the conventional drivers are limited to doing either field trips or after school. We have had drivers that used to drive for special education for more than 15 years. But with the division, it took away all the extra work and allowed new drivers to come in with less seniority, but was able to make more money than senior drivers. We were told conventional drivers cannot serve as special needs drivers because of the training. But that is true. We have trainers that are able and capable of training us. Because after all, when we're all hired to drive every bus on the lot. And another reason extra work is harder and unfair is because we're divided by the side of town we serve. We have an east side roster and a west side roster. The east side roster has 44 drivers signed up for field trips, while the west side only has 26 drivers. Therefore, if you're driving for the west side, you'll be able to get more work because the list is shorter and the rotation is quicker, which means the driver on the west side can have 10 trips at one time, while the driver on the east side may or may not have one trip, depending on what category you're in. So it is unfair to assign work based on the side of town we serve rather than by seniority, because we have no control over the side of town we serve. The bottom line is we want seniority to count for something. We want to be treated fair. And we want all the division and our department to end because we are one department. Thank you.
Okay, the fourth speaker, Barbara Clarke.
Yes, sir. She had a funeral late to attend tonight, and she apologizes for not being here.
Well, we'll move to our final speaker. I believe it's called Dunn. There you are.
My name is Carl Dunn. I work in the transportation department. I'm a monitor. My question is, about 2 months ago, I asked, will there be repercussions for those who have been less truthful to Mr. Gilbert? That question was answered with a yes. And I have not seen any repercussions for being less truthful. And I want to know what the board will do about that.
We can't respond to you this evening. You know, whatever you need to say, we'll listen and take it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I started out as a monitor making $8 an hour. It dropped down to $11.48 once I became a permanent monitor. $7.48 once I became a permanent monitor. I wonder, why is it always the man on the bottom of the pole gets stepped on first? Why did we not start at the top end where there was a lot more money and 10% wouldn't hurt, but it kills the monitors? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's our last speaker for this evening, and we're going to go ahead and move the agenda. The superintendent's report, Dr. Lanou.
Sure. First, we've got a number of items, and then we have a presentation, but James is here. James Fair. James, are you? James? Please, you have a presentation.
You know better than that.
Gotta have them.
Mr. President, Superintendent, members of the board, Mr. Terrell Benton, good to see you, sir. Principals, staff, distinguished guests, I'm delighted to be here this evening. 3 years ago, the Athens Housing Authority residents on the east side of town developed a partnership by working with Greg Davis, the family engagement programs, a part of Patty Hillsman, Cedar Shoals, Gaines Elementary School, Free IT Athens, outstanding leaders in the community such as Val and Daniel and his spouse. They all participated. So after 3 years of dedicated work, last year we submitted an application for a national award. And this was called a National Award of Merit, created by a national organization to recognize community development agencies that provide innovative ways of making a difference for people's lives. Now, I use the term NARO. Some of you are saying you're not familiar with that term, but let me tell you, NARO stands for the National Association of Housing Redevelopment Officials. Now, it provides memberships for more than 3,000 housing authorities throughout the country, as well as community development agencies. The Award of Merit, established in 1989 as a NARO award, has honored over 5,000 housing authorities during the past 22 years. The Athens Housing Authority was the only housing authority in the state of Georgia last year that was recognized with this award. Needless to say, we did not do this on our own. It took some dedicated work, primarily with the school system. As I talked about earlier, Dr. Price, Dr. Gilbert, Ms. Stewart, those persons really work with our residents. We're very much appreciative to them for that. Our residents received more than 100 laptop computers. They learned how to use those computers. They learned how to utilize those computers so they could communicate with the teachers as well as to apply for jobs online. So we're delighted tonight to share this award with the Clarke County School District. But without the school district, this award would not have been possible. So let me share the reading with you. National Award. It says, 2011 National Award of Merit, Program Innovation for Resident and Client Services, presented to the Clarke County School District, Crossing the Technology Divide. Dr. Lip, thank you, sir.
Fair. Thank you.
I'll just keep going. There you go. Thank you.
Let's go this side over here.
Go this side.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the email. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
How to walk this plank. You know what to
Great.
do.
Thank you.
Did he?
Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, if I could just say, certainly to James and his staff, and certainly but down to the community center, and the work is it's really tremendous. But that's everyone helping and doing what we needed to do. But I tell you, it takes leadership, and there it is right there in the back of the room is Mr. Fair. So thank you for you and your team. The next, I just want to comment and thank Anissa, the Junior League, and the Chambers. We had our Seeing is Believing tour was today. I thought it was excellent. This is my third one. You always say they get better. They are getting better. They're getting better because of the work that's occurring in our schools. I think it's the clarity that we have of purpose, the clarity of the work that has to happen. I think the conversations were real. The conversations were positive. And as I said to those that went on the tour, the ultimate choice for your children is yours, where you go to school. Just make sure we have all of the information, and I think speaks well to our students and our teachers and our school leaders today. So I just wanted to thank Anissa, and that whole piece today it was just a good day. It's a good day. And I didn't bring the brochure. Hold on. Yes, I do. Yep, I do. You have? I just want you to know that. Thanks to Anissa again. But you're going to see the brochure for the rolling out of the new Career Academy. This went to schools today. It is an excellent, excellent piece. It really specifically describes what you voted on last week. And as I've spoken to everyone, it's a new day for our kids. This is a new day for our kids to go to the Career Academy and to begin their journey to go out to the workforce and to get college credit for free. Think about that. Our students, as I said today, there's no barrier. We have opened it up for all those students in the middle that says the only barrier is you. You can get there. So from now on, instead of saying you're going to college to get a job, we're going to say you've got a career path, and we can help you get on that career path. And our students can do it. And as I said before, it's not about these kids and those kids. All of our kids can enter the Career Academy and follow their career dreams. So you've heard that speech from me before. I just had to say it again one more time since I rolled out the brochure. Also like to congratulate, we were made aware that Cedar Shoals and Clarke Central, and this came out of the governor's office, they were named AP Access and Support Schools. That's quite an honor for our AP program. And Clarke Central was named as an AP STEM school and an AP STEM Achievement School. So those are two high recognitions for both of our schools. And again, it speaks well to the work, so I'm really certainly pleased with that. I'd also make a note that I will be rolling out, hopefully soon, tech proposals for our schools. You've heard me talk about our tech initiative. We're going to move into an early adopters program. That early adopters is as we move handheld and look at that technology in our classroom to focus on gap areas. We're very excited to be able to, again, it's in its still draft stages, but our plan is to roll out an opportunity for all of our schools to enter into the digital learning environments and enhanced learning environments using handheld technology. And I think that's just a very exciting move. So I'm really pleased with that. Also, I'd note that on the 28th, we have an open house. There's actually 2 open houses, same night, same place, different time. So that's how it goes. 6 o'clock on the 28th, we're going to have an open house for the Career Academy. And at 7 o'clock, we're going to have an open house to talk about our new virtual academy through Classic City. I think I got the right date. Alice is looking at me.
Is it February 20th?
February 28th.
Okay, it's not on the calendar. Okay.
No, sorry.
Okay.
I will
It's
get
coming.
it to you.
It's on, okay, got it.
Yeah, we just finalized that today.
Okay.
So, but what it is 6 o'clock will be the Career Academy open to our parents. At 7 o'clock will be for talking about the new virtual academy. And I've sent letters at this point to all of our homeschool parents who homeschool their students. That here's an opportunity to educate students in the environment they want, to do it online, and they would have to enroll in Classic City High School and can get a diploma through us. So it's very exciting to roll out something very, very different, and it's another opportunity. So that's going to be 7 o'clock on the 28th. With that, reminder again, Ernest is over there shaking these. You've got the important and you've got the for your information. Thank you, Mr. Hardaway.
You're welcome.
And the last is just a real pleasure for me to have tonight. As you know, I talked about monitoring, we talk about feedback loops, we talk about the kinds of conversations that we have about performance. And I think by now, people know us, we're about performance, because that's what we want our kids to achieve. So part of our process is multifaceted. Schools develop their school improvement plans to target where they need to improve, and then develop strategies on how they're going to do that. But those would fall by the wayside if you didn't do it, because then it just becomes a piece of paper. And we know all too well things that become a piece of paper. We write it, we put it on a website, and we come back to it at the end of the year. That is not the case for our schools and our leadership teams. They need to review it every month, and then we do an impact check midway through the year. And that is, we sit down and we go through and they talk about their accomplishments, where they made gains, where they didn't make gains, what are the gaps, what did they have to change. And so I'm real pleased. We did one with the Chase faculty, and obviously they're here because they did an excellent job, like many of our schools. But Dr. Kurtz and his team, I'm going to invite you, and we're going to spend a little time, because this is the heart of what we do when we go with school improvement. So with that, Dr. Kurtz.
Thank you. This is really going to be a presentation by some members of our leadership team, and they'll be sharing part of the implementation impact check. It's longer than you might want to sit through this evening, but it gives you an idea of what we look at and how we move forward to make sure that what we're doing is having a positive impact on students, and where it's not, what are we doing about it? And it opens up more questions than answers sometimes, but that keeps us learning because it's about our learning first so that we can then improve student learning. We have a couple of teachers, Emily Larson in 5th grade and Kathy Hart, my son's teacher actually in 2nd grade, they're going to share go through some math action steps to give an example. And then we will have a special education teacher, Miss Donna Wilkins, and a 3rd grade teacher, Mr. Cameron Brooks, share some information about reading, just to give you an idea. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to apologize for my voice. I'm losing it, but I wanted to be with you guys anyway. So when we sat down with our leadership team this summer, we looked at so much data for all of our students and all of many different assessments, the CRCT and benchmarks, and we were working to, thank you, monitor our students' achievement, try to target specific needs, and also just set some goals for this year in math. So overall, we were really pleased with our growth in math, but of course you always want to look for how can we continue that upward trend and how can we continue to improve our instruction. A couple of things that stood out, if you could go back to the targets, thank you. A couple of things that stood out were there were 3 subgroups in particular that we really wanted to focus on this year.
Just one focus, data focus.
Oh, okay. And those were our economically disadvantaged students, our students with disabilities, and our Black students. While they were still making progress in math, we wanted to, really narrow in on them and see what we could do about trying to close that achievement gap as much as possible. Another thing we talked about is we were really happy that 85% of our students last year met or exceeded on the CRCT, and 45% of our students in 3rd through 5th exceeded. We wanted to try this year to work to move more of our meet students towards the exceeds side. And one last thing, we noticed one relative weakness. It was still pretty good, but was our numbers and operations domain. And so we, after seeing that number, got a lot of student work and analyzed it and noticed that our kids were understanding concepts really well, but were getting caught up in computation and just sort of the fluency in solving problems. So once we had identified all these targets, then we had to move on and create some action steps. Now, okay. And so we came up with 3 action steps. I'm going to just briefly introduce them, and then I'm going to let Ms. Hart come up and talk about the first 2. The first 2 have to do with working on fluency, because we noticed we're thinking that if our kids are more automatic with their math facts, that will help them with computation, which will help our overall math achievement. And the last one has to do with story problems, and I'll talk to you about that after Ms. Hart comes. I just wanted to mention 2 themes. As we talk about math and reading in our school improvement plan, we're really trying to work to help our kids take a lot of ownership for their own learning and work on promoting self-efficacy, so I think you'll see that throughout. And we also were working on vertical alignment. It was kind of hard as a 5th grade teacher to go talk to a kindergarten teacher or a 1st grade teacher about what was going on in math. So we wanted to create some common practices and common language so that all teachers and parents and students could communicate more clearly and work towards helping our kids improve their achievement even more. So, Ms. Hart.
We're not used to be separated from our visuals. And I want to talk a little bit about fluency. Fluency is the ability to quickly add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers. It's what we call math facts. And what you see up here are students graphing their own progress. That's one part of our one of our action steps. The other, what they're graphing here are weekly assessments that come out of weekly practice sessions in grade levels 2 through 5. And by them graphing their own progress, they can see on a weekly basis what's happening. We also have fluency assessments that we do twice each quarter. And those are based on where students should be at the end of the year, where we expect them to be able to perform at year's end. And this graph here shows the assessments that we've done so far school-wide. So each one of those lines is a different grade level. The trend is all going the right way. You see a little dip there in 4th grade, and that has an interesting story behind it. The 4th grade teachers, the students, once they mastered those math facts, whether it was 50 problems in 2 minutes or whatever it was, they were able to opt out of the weekly practice sessions. So that little dip happened then the next time they took the twice quarterly one. So they are no longer allowed to opt out of that. But it really shows the importance of practice and really having these skills being automated. The next action step is the story problem initiative.
One other area we really wanted to help our kids work on was the ability to read and understand word problems. Again, we were noticing that they were really understanding the big picture and the math concepts, but sometimes they would get lost in reading a problem and figuring out exactly what it was asking them to do, especially if there were more than one step problems. So for a while, we all just kept trying to work word problems into our daily math instruction. We just figured if we showed them enough word problems and talked to them enough about word problems, they would figure it out. And we realized through our math task force last year that no one had ever really found a way to explain to kids, this is how you go step by step. These are the steps you follow to solve a word problem. So we started a new program. We piloted it last year, and we started it this year called I Can. So they're supposed to feel like I can solve word problems. And we set aside about 1 to 2 periods a week in each grade level to explicitly model and practice solving story problems. And it's been really, really great. The last step, I won't go through all the steps, but the last step, the now is it right, goes back to the self-efficacy, because we're trying to get the kids to stop and think, is my answer reasonable? How do I know? How can I explain it? And again, with any new initiative, you want to always stop and see what's the impact. Is it working? If we're going to spend 2 math sections a week on it, we want to make sure we know that it's working well for our kids. So we came up with there's one example. Well, it's okay. That's just what a student's paper looks like, where they go through underlining information and creating a plan and explaining their work, and just, forcing them to slow down and really think about their math work. So just like with fluency, we created an assessment that we give at the beginning and end of each quarter, and each grade 1 through 5 created their own assessment of where we would want the kids to be in that grade at the end of the year. So the blue bars are how our kids did on story problems at the end of the first quarter, and the red bars are at the end of the second quarter. So I won't go through all the numbers, but as you can see, there's a good positive trend in all grades. And what we're noticing is with the fact practice and the fluency, combined with being able to know how to read and understand and attack problems, we're seeing we're seeing the effect of that in the big picture. So I'm going to let Ms. Hart come back and talk to you just about some of our benchmark scores and where we've seen this working more than just in the data we've collected about these action steps.
Now, the idea of all this is that we would see improvements in our CRCT scores at the end of the year. Not having those, what we did is take a look at our December benchmarks. And the first slide that you're seeing up here is 3rd grade. The red bars are this year's mean scores. The blue bars are last year's. We look at Clarke County as a district. We look at what's happening overall in our grade, in our school at the grade level, and then we look at each of our subgroups within that. So third grade, the trend is definitely positive on all of those. We also have fourth and fifth. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this data, but the overall trend is positive. We see in fourth grade that some of the subgroups, this year's bar is a little bit lower. What we do in those cases is we actually look at the students that are in those subgroups and make sure that we have in place for them what they need to meet their learning needs, and that we do that through our RTI process. And the next slide is the fifth grade. So we feel that overall what we're doing is having the impact that we want it to have. And that concludes the math presentation. Thank you.
If I could add too, is what you're seeing, please. What you're seeing up there is their school improvement plan. So every school uses the same template, analyzes where their gaps are, does strategies to focus on the gaps. You know what I mean? And monitors those strategies really work. And so, but that's the same template you'll see across every school.
Good evening.
Thank you.
In reading, just like in math, we want our students meeting or exceeding the standards while hopefully eliminating the achievement gap between those subgroups. So what we decided to do was just break down the performance measures by grades and see how each grade level contributes to the whole. Then we took those performance measures and took a look and broke them down and see our subgroups, focusing pretty much on students with disabilities and our African American students, and see what was happening there. The other thing we also took a look at was the data on our reading levels and our reading fluency. And we were hoping to see by grade levels, is there a positive growth of those students with the district's end reading level or the district's fluency level at those grade levels. And we'll show those in just a little bit how that turns out.
Hi. I'm going to begin with the first action step, which deals with the Daily 5 and the Cafe book, reading programs, rather. Last year, a handful of teachers at our school piloted a new literacy program based on these two books. And from the feedback from those teachers as well as observations, it was very positive. So this year we did a full school rollout with it, so all the teachers are now adopting the Daily 5 and the Cafe. I'm going to begin by talking briefly about the Daily 5 because the Cafe book kind of builds upon the Daily 5. So at the beginning of the year, the Daily 5 sort of introduces routines, procedures, and expectations that the Cafe book builds on. So it includes 5 choices. You have read to self, read to someone, listen to reading, word work, and work on writing. So at the beginning of the year, the teacher spends a lot of time establishing what the expectations are, both behaviorally and I guess cognitively. So it kind of helps the kids to think about how they're learning. So there you can see it's very explicit. Not only do we define the behaviors we expect to see from the students, but we also define what the teacher is going to be doing at that time. Cafe will be referred to a little bit more in the next few slides. Here you can see an example of a student using one of the key points of read to self, which is I read the whole time. So by co-creating all of these visuals, it kind of gets the kids a sense of self-worth, and also that they're part of the learning and the teaching too, I think.
Our next action step talked about our teachers were using our flexible small group reading strategy lessons during our extended learning time. So we took a look at pre and post tests, our quarterly benchmark data, quizzes or what have you, not to see where their deficits are. We also took the use of our specials teachers, art, music, PE, and technology. and had them come on board with us. So some of our specials teachers will be taking some students to work on areas of deficit. Our technology teacher and our music teacher have about 22 students that they're working with for areas of enrichment. And so those kids are getting ready to produce a video on how what simple machines operate as a video. And they're also getting them prepared for the science fair for the district. I'm going to ask for a little latitude. That's not working for me.
Okay.
As we do our benchmark for the scores. And then I'm going to see if I can figure out how to condense this time and put a few things together, okay? But for our first grade second quarter reading, which was taking mid-December, we're going to base it on last year's and this year's. So this is Clarke County, Chase Street, our African American students and our special ed. So I'm going to see if I can make this flow back and forth without taking too much time. But if you'll notice, this year, our mean score, our first graders here had exceeded Clarke County's benchmark scores. For our African American students at 56 and our special ed students at 54. This is what I need you to do. If you flip to the next slide. Okay, see if we can go back and forth without making you dizzy. Again, for second grade, we exceeded the Clarke County's benchmark scores. But this is what I'm going to need you to take a look at. When we're thinking about it and comparing last year's first graders and this year's first graders, that wasn't really helping us. I needed to know, or our team needed to know, really, that first grade moving to second grade, what was going on with them. I didn't need to compare apples and oranges. I needed to compare those apples and see what they flow. So without making you dizzy, we're going to see if we can do this. So if you can go back to first grade.
Here we go.
Okay, so our African American students last year, first grade, were at 52%. Hold that number. Our last year special ed students were at 33%. So if we move them to second grade, our African American students now are at 63%, and our special ed students went up 54%. So without holding, keep going, take my word for it, or I can spout the numbers for you. It kept flowing. For every grade level, on a mean score, our first through fifth graders exceeded by margins, and I can give you those numbers, the Clarke County District. But this is what was really interesting to our team in terms of our African American students at our special ed. And I'll stop those numbers without making you dizzy too much unless Ms. Neer wants to go. For our African American students going from first grade to second grade, there was a 10.9% increase. For our second graders moving up to third grade, we noticed almost a 4% increase. When those third graders moved to fourth grade, there was a 4% increase. When the fourth graders moved to fifth grade, we noticed a 6.5% increase. Now let's go back and do it for special ed. That's my area, and I was excited. So what's going on? I need to know what was happening with those children at that time and where the flow was. It also helped me in terms of taking a look at their IEP, making adjustments in their schedule and their plans or their status. So for special ed, we'll stay here. When they were in fourth grade, moving to fifth grade at 53, and then it wasn't a great jump, but at 53.9, they had made almost a 1% increase. Without making everybody dizzy, I'm going to go back from special ed first graders. Moving to second grade, they had about a 21% increase. Please stop and think what was going on, and that's what we did. Roughly 4 students or so, kids come, kids go, but we took a look and see what was really happening, and we liked what we saw, and so we have good impact on that. The second grade special ed students moving to third grade had an 8% increase. When the third grade special ed students last year moved to fourth, they had a 5% increase. When the fourth grade students moved to fifth grade, as you saw, there was a 1% increase. But then we can go back and see what's the babies, what's the disability, what are the areas of strength that we can use for them. If we'll go to the next slide, because the other focus was taking a look at our reading levels and our reading fluency. So our reading levels, and even though they're 7s, for those who don't know, we have reading level A as a 1, reading level 2 as a B, reading level 3 as a C. Okay, so here we go. For second quarter, which was mid-December, our second graders, our third graders, and our fourth graders have already met or exceeded where they should be for their reading levels. For instance, first grade is right at a G here. By the end of the school year, they need to be about an H or I. For second grade, at the end of they're right now here, 15 is considered an O level. They have already passed it. for where they're supposed to be. For third grade, they have already met and exceeded because they're now at Q and where they really needed to be at 16 or a P by the end of the school year. We kept noticing that trend as they were moving along, that the kids have exceeded the halfway mark where they need to be, and they're feeling good about the next few months. The average and the mean of the students will be there. We still come back and look and see where are the others, what do we need to do, what do we flex so we can get everybody meeting or exceeding the objective. If we do the reading fluency, again, this test that we're giving, if it was a first grader, and we don't tend to do the first graders here until they're about at a level E or so. So the first beginning of the year, we didn't do it. When they came in, they were at 49 to 50%. Their goal is to be at 60. They're doing well. Let me give you a short version of this. For first grade, second graders, they needed to be at a 90. They're already at 94. For third graders, they needed to end at 110. Already in December, they were at 108. For our fourth graders, they needed to be at 118. They're at 107 in December. And for fifth graders, their final goal set by the district was to be 124. And they're already at 118 for their words correct per minute in their fluency. And every grade level was given the Voyager reading fluency test on that grade level for all of our students.
Okay.
Okay, the next two action steps, and I'll try to get through these quickly, are directly related to the CAFE book, which I mentioned at the beginning, and they deal with individualized goal-setting conferences with students at regular intervals throughout the year. The second one is about co-creating anchor charts and checklists and monitoring tools to monitor growth. So if we could go to the artifacts for CAFE. So if you take a look at the CAFE menus in each classroom, the CAFE menu is broken down into 4 sections. You have comprehension, accuracy, fluency, and expand vocabulary. And so underneath each one, as we move throughout the year, we introduce specific strategies for those 4 different components. And so there's no sequence other than the pacing guide and the standards being taught at that time. So a student can move throughout these different areas depending on their individualized goals. So underneath each one, you can see that there are specific strategies that we introduce to the class, and we also work with students. And this also gives them a nice visual, just as a reminder of where they are and what they're going to be working on at any given point during the year. And here we have the CAFE conference form. At the beginning of the year, we sit down with the students and we identify their strengths and their goals. And so based on those, the teacher comes up with a specific strategy to sort of hone in on what that student needs. And so the teacher conferences with the student reads, the teacher makes anecdotal notes, what they see, what they're thinking, and at that point the teacher introduces a strategy or they discuss a strategy already taught whole group. The teacher models it for the student practices that strategy, and then they go to the calendar and they set a date for when they're going to meet again to see if they have achieved their goal. And sometimes they meet their goals. You can see on the left that there are some check marks where they met their goals, at which point we move on to another strategy based on another standard that we're working on at that time. If they don't meet the goal, then we sort of get into some remediation. We say, okay, well, why is this not working? And so we might tweak the strategy a little bit, model some other ways to go about it, and then just extend the amount of time that they need in order to master this skill. And then another self-efficacy piece is the students carry these bookmarks with them, which are sort of reminders of what they have been working on. And it also makes them feel good because throughout the year they have these bookmarks and they can say, wow, I met 6 goals since, October or whatever. So it really helps them feel good about their learning, and it just reinforces just the good feeling of achievement for the kids. And the district walkthrough data, I think, shows that this is working. So for the essential questions, in 2010-2011, we were at 68.7%. This year, as you can see there, we're at 94.7%. So that's a marked increase. And as for the standards being highly visible in class, the district's was about 90, ours were about 90. We're happy with that. And then for feedback to students related to performance on the standards, in 2010, 2011, we were at 92%. We're now at 97%. And that's, we could go back on and talk a little bit about that one. That's due to a real focus school-wide on the language that we use with the students and how it's directly tied to the standards. So, for example, if we're talking about summarizing, rather than telling a student, "Great job summarizing," instead we've sort of elevated the vocabulary and tied it directly to the standards. And so we say something along the lines of, "I like the way you sequence the main events." And so through using this language, it increases the level of communication not only between teacher and student, but also between the students when they're meeting in strategy groups, and equally as important when the student is communicating it back to the teacher. And student learning is monitored and assessed throughout instruction. As you can see with all of these different artifacts I've shown you from CAFE, this is inherent in our new balanced literacy program, as is explaining the standards they're learning. That kind of is directly related to the language that I was discussing.
If you'll grant me a little bit of latitude, because we're in a classroom, but sometimes you got to come out of the classroom. So this past summer, when we came together as a school and a leadership team, we kind of looked about and looked at our CRCP scores and found that half of our students who had failed the CRC test were coming from Rolling Ridge areas. So that was about 1/5 of our population, and Rolling Ridge also has to be the furthest from our zone. And so we kind of brainstormed as a school and a team, what could we do? What could we do different? How can we get our parents coming in a lot more and things like that? And so we came up with a reading tailgate. We went out to Rolling Ridge in that open area with tents. I did get wet, and I need to know who to give the. So the first rain date didn't work. We set up, and the rain fell. We came back, and that was just before conference, so we got to squeeze a little bit of that in. We set another date. We came out there with tents, and all kind of things were going on with a bright sunny day. And the things that were going on, we had just reading games. The kids came and with us and showed them how to reading games, put them in a bag, and they got to go home with them. We had another tent where they had books, not just for the kids, but for the parents. Cookbooks, novels, what have you not. So it's come and get any of the books you want, take them to your home. It's a matter of getting books in the home so everybody is reading in some form or fashion for a great model. We had tents where the parents sat down with the child and just cuddled them and read to them. We talked to them about how questions you can ask as you're reading with your child and things that we can do. When the children went to all the stations and got their tickets back, they left with brand new books, a bag full of brand new books, as well as going to the gently used books to take with them and everything. It was a wonderful event. I tipped my hat off to Mrs. Neer, our instructional coach, as well as Ms. Kipling, who was our family engagement person, and the whole staff that just kind of joined in. It was a bunch of us. The children enjoyed it. It was well worth the event. And since it was just after conference, I said, what was our percentage out of Rolling Ridge? It was 97% of our parents coming in for conferences. Right. And I thank you for listening to us.
Well, and I don't know if you have any questions, but that was 2 of the 5, okay, of the strategies that are in every improvement plan. But and you can have questions, but I think it really reflects the thinking, the complexities of really getting to what's needed for students. And and kudos to this team who has started planning early. And again, this was 2 slices of 5 slices that we heard. But I think you got a sense, if you want to ask questions, but I think you got a sense of how deliberate they're monitoring and working with kids with creativity, because there are a lot of creative elements in there that are unique to Chase, and each school has unique elements.
Go ahead, Ms. Payne.
My question is to the principal. Who came up with the idea of going out there pitching tents? I mean, that's remarkable.
Most schools go into the community as much as we can, and Rolling Ridge has been particularly difficult. But I have to say, I think it was a real collective idea. truly managed by our family engagement specialist who helped take the same reading strategies the kids are doing. Read to Someone tent was just packed. They are so happy to have someone to read to. And so when we can share those strategies, what we're doing at school, at home, with the community that is the most disconnected from us, and they're not that far, it's just a busy road. I'm not going to walk it. But we figured, we looked at 1 in 5 of our families actually live there, and a lot of our CRCT failures are out there or near there. And we have a lot of trouble connecting with those families, and so we were trying to make new opportunities. The management out there was great. I think the tailgate idea was collective because it was fall, and we kind of, teachers had great fun. We had some ice cream sandwiches and popcorn and such out there, and our turnout was incredible. Not just from Rolling Ridge, from all around. So we had a great time. But thanks to our family engagement specialist for planning it, so when teachers came, they could have fun too. Yeah. And when teachers got done, they said, we want to go back. I mean, because it was fun for them. It wasn't work, so it was really nice. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? I had one question, and of course I enjoyed all of it, but I want to go back to the buffet, because I really like that. And the first letter there, comprehension, I believe it was, but I missed A, F, and E. I couldn't see that on it.
It's accuracy, fluency, and expand vocabulary.
Okay, all righty. Okay.
Thank you for having us. We're honored to be here and be able to share this. This is just a little bit of what these hardworking folks do, and thank you for always, at the beginning of each of your meetings, taking a minute to honor that and take a minute to understand it. So thanks.
And if I could add that the roles they have are outside of the norm. This is outside of all of what they do during the day. So when they do this, they volunteer to put this extra time and energy in planning and analyzing school performance.
I think Ms. Thornton has questions.
I'm about to excuse myself, but I really wanted to say I always enjoy when we recognize the special awardees, but this was just awesome because it wasn't fluff. It used to be my favorite word. You have the data and the examples that go with it. This, for me, I appreciate as a board member. I hope you continue the good work that you're doing.
Thanks to these folks.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we can move the agenda. You finished with your report, Dr.
I am finished. Unless
you
want any more.
We're down to item E, report of current committees.
Now, hold on just a second. Let me get, I gotta get back into the game here.
That's E.
Yeah. Jimmy, hold on just a second. Hold on.
There you go.
Thank you. First of all, we have the SPLOS 2, SPLOS 3 monthly reports. Those are in your packet. I'd ask that we approve the financial report for December.
I need a motion to approve of the financial report moved by Dr. Spangler. Got a second on that, second from Mr. Huff. Questions about the financial report? Questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Okay.
GSB District 11 Director's Report. Mr. Payne.
Dr. Lanu, and to the board and to all this present. I have some kudos for people. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Lanu for his very excellent presentation to Martin Luther King celebration. I have never been so overwhelmed with telephone calls from the black community, understanding what kind of man he is and what kind of superintendent we have in Clarke County. He challenged all of us, and it was just outstanding. And Dr. Lanu, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. very much. And Ms. Ellis is not here tonight, but Dr. Lanu, I was just thinking, she printed such a fine article in the newspaper. Maybe we need to run that in July and August before children enroll in school. Let them know what fine school district we have. But I want to thank her for that very excellent article. And I want to thank Mrs. Williams and Dr. Lanu for going with me under the gold dome. I didn't have to go by myself. And one of the things that was in that meeting, and it was very evident yesterday and today, and that is those who are trying to get under the gold dome be responsible for those schools with having a senior moment. Charter schools. And that was what we was talking about. And we won yesterday. Now, I haven't heard it today. Anybody heard how the vote came out today? I understand they were taking it back to committee. They lost yesterday, and they were taking it back to committee to work on it to try to get it changed. And that came out of the governor's office. That charter school came from the governor's office. And
it passed 114 to 49?
It did.
It passed.
Today.
Yeah, the reconsideration passed, not the bill, but the reconsideration passed, which they expected it to.
122 out of the House to pass it.
Okay, all right. Well, but anyway, so that's work that we need to get busy doing, and we will do that because a lot of people don't understand what's behind charter schools. And what anyone needs to do is to go back and look at the state's requirement for a charter school. It's very specific. It is down to earth and everybody can understand it. You cannot start a charter school unless it's different from anything that you have already in your county. It must be different in program. It must offer the children something that you are not offering in your regular schools. And I don't know why but it's got political. There are a lot of people using charter school for all kinds of reasons. That's not honorable. And some are making money on charter schools. And if you look at the report all over America, those schools are not making that much progress above any other school. In fact, a lot of those schools are failing. And we need to be very vigilant to make sure that if it passes, that we get busy, that we block it whenever the citizens vote on that bill because it's not good for our children. The main purpose is taking money from the regular school system. We're underfunded now. The school system in Georgia is underfunded. A lot of people don't know that. I put some material in your packet tonight. Please, ma'am, and please, sir, read it so you'll understand. Our president and executive secretary wrote a letter and it was printed in a lot of the newspapers about not supporting the charter school. And there was many reasons why. But we need to be very careful that we continue to let the governance of school system be in the hands of the Board of Education, not politicians, not under the gold dome. And our attorneys right here now, if you go back and look at whenever school boards were set up back in the 1700s, and it was strengthened in the 1940s, they meant for the Board of Education to be dedicated individuals. And most of the board members, 99% of the board members, are dedicated to educating children. It's not for the money. Lord knows it's not for the money. And some of the finest people in America are board members who are working every day to better condition for the underprivileged, the privileged, and all children in our schools. But there are those who have ulterior motives, who are trying to get their foot in the door and to take money from your child, because that's what will happen with the charter school. And education is not being funded in the state of Georgia today as it should be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Payne. Okay, Mr. Superintendent, we can move. You're down to item F. I don't think we have any
No business. New business, I recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on the consent agenda. Moved by Mr. Huff, seconded by Ms. Williams. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Item 8.
Item 8, which was the 3 on the consent agenda, and since there's discussion, if I can recommend we put that on and get it on the table for a vote, then room for discussion. But that'd be approved submission of grant proposal for Wells Fargo Neighborhood Grant in the amount of $100,000.
Okay. Motion from Mr. Huff. Need a second on that. Second from Dr. Spangler. Questions?
And there were some questions I know Mr. Huff had, and they're more general, but they related to this topic.
I just wanted to ask that you would point out what the grant was for, and that it was going to, the intent was to reinstate funding for the 11 days of pre-K.
And Dr. Goodman is here. Yes, that is the intent. We're trying to find additional funding to extend the school year for our pre-K students.
All right.
Dr. Goodman, and if you want to add anything?
The reason why we're doing this is that we had a no-cost extension for one of our early reading first grants, Ready to Read, but it was only for specific schools. In order to try to equalize that so that all children have access to a full year without the funding from the governor's office, that we were trying to write for the Wells Fargo's grant for those students who are not in one of the Ready to Read schools.
Thank you.
And that was the reason.
How many schools are ready to read?
It's
5.
Elks,
Barnett
Shoals,
Winterville, Cleveland,
Winterville, J.J. Harris.
Okay, 5.
Okay, Ms. Payne?
Mr. President and to the superintendent, this is just joy to me. Every time we get a grant, I mean that's my forte. Is grants. We need more grants. Thank the Lord for grants.
Mr. Payne.
Okay, any further questions? Any further questions on item 8? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Can I vote
Motion
twice?
passed.
Mr. Payne, this is moving right your way. To approve the submission of a grant application to the Georgia Department of Georgia's Math and Science Partnership Grant Program.
Okay.
Recommend we approve submission.
Item 9. Okay, moved by Mr. Payne, seconded by Mr. Huff. Any questions pertaining to item 9 on the Georgia Math and Science Partnership Grant? Questions? All in favor? Okay, motion passed.
One abstention due to a conflict of
Okay, that's
interest
right.
because that money would
Abstain.
potentially flow through my department, some of it.
Abstention
People
for
in my
Dr.
department.
Spangler. I'm sorry. Okay, item 10.
I recommend approval of the 2012-2013 and 2013-2014 academic calendars as presented.
I would like to
Okay, moved by
be involved in this at the very beginning.
Like that.
Second from Mr. Nunley. Any questions about the approval of the academic calendars? Go ahead, Ms. Payne.
I just really enjoy the way that it was presented and those people working together to put it together. I think it was an excellent job.
Thank you. It was a
It
good
really
process.
was. Thank you. So,
Okay, any further questions on academic calendars? Any further questions? All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Okay.
Recommend approval of the use of the West Broad campus for the Market Garden program as outlined in the attached memorandum of understanding.
Okay, the Market Garden Project, West Broad Campus, moved by Mr. Payne, got a second from Mr. Nunley. Questions? Questions? All in favor? Motion passed. Thank you. Item 12.
I think we had the list of board members from the last meeting, but approved board member travel to the GSBA Summer Conference and Delegate Assembly, that's June 15th, 16th in Savannah.
It was Mr. Payne and Mrs. Thornton and Mr. Huff possibly.
Yes.
Okay, any others? Okay, I need a motion. Moved by Mr. Huff. Seconded by Dr. Spangler.
oh yeah.
Any questions on this? Any questions? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I had promised Mr. Huff. I called Sis the other day, and as soon as they get through with making out the program and getting those people that they're trying to get, I mean that's a problem, is getting people outstanding to come that's not already engaged. Sometimes you have to do that about a year in advance. But just as soon as I get that list, I'll give it to you.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions? All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Okay, 13.
Item 13, the list of policies and regulations as listed, that they be placed on the table for 4 weeks.
Okay, I need a motion to place this on the table for 4 weeks. Need a motion. Moved by Mr. Huff. Need a second on that. Second by Mr. Nunley. All in favor of placing these on the table for 4 weeks? Okay. Motion passed. Thank you very much.
I mean, can I recommend approval of my no. I recommend approval of my contract. I'll leave it up to you. All right.
We down to item 14, renewal of the superintendent's contract. Okay, I need a motion. Moved by Mr. Payne, second from Ms. Wright. Do we have any questions? So we have to go in the back room. All in favor? Woo! All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Ledoux. Okay.
Members of the board, I recommend executive session for personnel matters to include appointments, transfers, and resignations for legal matters for the acquisition of real estate.
Need a motion for executive session. Dr. Spengler, and seconded by Mr. Nunley. All in favor? Thank you very much. That will be